Hi, everyone. Welcome to Profiles in Innovation, where today we have the honor of talking to Professor Tim Hickey, who is one of the legends of computer science and a Brandeis innovator. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm really excited again to talk to you. A little introduction for our listeners and viewers is you are a professor here of computer science and former chair of the Computer Science and Internet Studies program at Brandeis. Your specialties include analysis of algorithms, logic programming, and parallel processing, as well as symbolic manipulation and groupware. And Tim's current research involves the study of educational technology, brain-computer interfaces, and game-based learning. And Tim is the co-creator and lead developer of the J-Scheme programming language and the Group Edit collaborative editor. Tim is a Brandeis alum. He got his bachelor's in math from Brandeis summa cum laude, and then went to the University of Chicago for his PhD. Welcome, Tim, again.
Thank you.
So I am just really excited to learn about everything that you're working on. I had the honor of doing a demo with your new technology, and you're currently in our Spark program, which is Brandeis's incubator for apps and social impact projects and creative projects. You're really looking to both make teachers' lives easier, from what I understand, as well as introducing more equity into the classroom, thereby increasing the number of STEM graduates, all with a piece of software. So I'm really, really excited to learn more about that.
Oh, yes, it's a project we've been working on for 4 or 5 years, I think. I have three other members on my team, two people in math, Rebecca Torrey and Keith Merrill, and another computer scientist, Ella Tucson. And we've all been involved in research, educational technology research for the past several years. So this project grew out of our work on specifications grading and mastery learning and grading for equity, all of these really new and exciting innovations in pedagogy. And should I talk a little bit about how the app works? And uh,
Yes, I would love to. I'm sure we have a lot of teachers in our audience who'd love to learn more and maybe even try it out.
yeah, oh, that would be great. So the idea is um, the traditional way of assessing learning in STEM classes, or actually in almost all classes, is to have homework assignments and to have a midterm and a final. Um, and this it's been that way for like decades, maybe even centuries. Um, but there are major problems with that method of assessment. One problem is when students take a midterm. First of all, there's partial credit. So you don't really know, do they fully understand something or not? What does the partial credit mean? And then also, if they don't do well on the midterm, we tell them to go and look at the feedback and to learn from it and learn the material even if they didn't get it right the first time, but they rarely do because they have other things on their mind. We also tell them not to cram, to study every single week, but that's uh, advice that's not often listened to. So what we decided to do was to create an app that would that would meet some of these challenges. And the idea is we start off with a list of all of the skills we want the students to learn, typically around 40 skills. And then as we're going through the semester, every week we give a comprehensive exam on all the skills up to that point in time. And for each skill, there's a challenging question. And if they get that question right, then we have good confidence that they actually know the material to the level we're interested in. They've mastered
Mhm.
it to that level. And if they don't get it right, the next week there'll be another question on that skill that they can take, and the week after, and the week after. Once they've mastered a skill, they don't have to take those questions anymore. So the advantage of this approach is that it is very easy to grade. It's just pass fail. Did they get it or not? Did they master it or not? Really easy. And you don't have to give much feedback because you have worked out solutions so they can look at it and they're motivated to do it because next week they're going to have that similar kind of problem and they want to get it right. Um, the uh, the uh, typically, some students will master the skill the first time they try it. Those are the students usually get A's in the class. Other students take 2 or 3 or 4 times before they can master the skill. These are the students who would often get B's or C's or D's in a traditional class. But in this kind of a class, they're incentivized to keep studying and to master almost all the skills. So it's very satisfying from the instructor's point of view because you see a much more equity. Students come in with different background levels, but almost all of them can achieve mastery of all the skills. So that's really a positive impact. The uh, the challenge with this approach is that first of all, you have to have a list of 40 skills for your class. You have to think that well through. And then for each skill, you've got to get 5 to 20 problems, depending on if you're teaching it every semester or something, because you need a new problem each week. So and then you need to, the students have to figure out which skills they should answer every week, and then they have to keep track of which skills they've mastered. So there's a lot of bookkeeping going on. Excuse me. And that's what our app does. So our app um, allows faculty to import skills from another class, to generate exams with huge problem banks for each skill, to grade the exams, or to print personalized exams. So for each student, it has their name at the top and only those skills they need to work on, and then an easy way to grade it that goes right back into the app, and then students can look up their grades really easily. So it removes all these pain points, which have been, I think, the primary reason that faculty have not adopted this approach. We call it the mastery assessment pedagogy approach. Um, and our hope is if we start with some computer science and math classes and start to get more early adopters, this approach can spread and eventually increase the diversity and equity in STEM majors.
That is awesome because there's often been so much talk around mastery pathways, like it's supposedly built into Canvas, and it's a great tool, but it's not easy, it's not intuitive, and it can be very challenging to set up. And speaking as someone who tried out your technology, it's just such an easy way to do mastery pathways. It doesn't create the struggle that you often see when people want to implement mastery learning, but just don't really know how. And so I'm just incredibly grateful that you're working on this technology. Now, you're working on this technology as part of our Spark program, which is our incubator for students, faculty, and staff here at Brandeis. Tell me a little bit about that journey, about joining Spark, and what you're doing as a Spark participant.
Yes. So Spark has been great. So I've been an academic my whole life, never been involved in business. So I had no idea about, looking at a business plan or how to do marketing or how to discover who your customers are. Um, and I really want to have a big impact in in pedagogy and in the way that STEM classes are taught. But to do that, I have to have a business because the app requires funding to pay for the servers. So you can't just, I mean, it's all set to scale. It could scale to 10,000 different students at the same time right now, but you have to pay for those servers. And to pay for the servers, I would need to have a company that would be able to collect the income. Um, so we realized early on that we needed to have a company for this. And then also a company would help us do the marketing and get the word out and do studies and do research and convince people that this is a good idea and something they might want to try. So the Spark program has been very helpful. Um, we meet once a week and uh, learn very practical things. There's like well, yeah, maybe 10 different teams working, and we can learn from each other. And they're practical exercises, the homework to work on. that is all part of building the company. We also have an entrepreneur in residence we meet with regularly, who's started many businesses and is really really helpful. So it's been a great experience so far.
I'm glad to hear that. And you have had an epic career. I'm not exaggerating when I say you are one of the legends of computer science. How, tell listeners a little bit about some of your favorite innovation experiences as a lifelong computer science innovator and some of the ways in which it coincides with what you're doing now. And how all of that built into your current innovation activities.
So I've always loved teaching, and that I've used teaching to inform my research and research to inform my teaching. So I'm a computer scientist. My main areas now are educational technology, but I've also done a lot of work in programming languages, designing new programming languages. Um, and some of those, one of those programming languages, JScheme, was something that started out as a project in a class. I wanted my students to implement part of a new language to learn how data structures are really helpful. Um, and so I created a whole bunch of problems to help them do that. And then I took it from there and built this new entire language, uh, which got used. Um, there were users in the Department of Defense and kind of all over the place. So it was a really interesting project. Um, the I've also been interested in brain-computer interaction. So
Mhm.
you can buy these headsets for $200 or $300 that will sense your brain waves um, and send it to an app. Um, and so we've been doing studies on whether or not you can use machine learning to infer or figure out what kind of mental activity someone is doing, especially while they're learning. So we did several studies where we had students do GRE math problems or GRE English problems, or just daydream or try to meditate, and for 5 minutes at a time. And we recorded their brain waves and then used machine learning to try to tell from a 1 second unit of that EEG recording which of those four they were doing.
Mhm.
And we did several other ones with um, uh, typing or writing, copying, or um, answering questions creatively. And it turns out that with this really inexpensive technology, you can fairly reliably determine which of these broad categories people are working on. The goal of that long-term goal, which we haven't yet achieved, is to create something like the sleep tracker, but during the waking hours. So when you sleep, you get something that says, "Oh, you were deep sleep here, medium sleep there, you're awake here, you were dreaming here, REM sleep here." We would like something like that for your waking hours. It says here you were really in a creative bursting period. Here you were daydreaming. Over here you were very tired and spacey. Over here you were deeply focused, something like that, which we think could be interesting and helpful for people uh, just to review how their past day was. Maybe look for patterns. So I seem to get really, really sleepy right after lunch, or I'm extremely
Mhm.
creative at this period, like 10 to 11 in the morning. Um, so there's my research is often connected with using technology and trying to find applications for learning and social improvement.
Wow, that's awesome. And um you're again, you're currently here in Spark, you're working on that, you do so much innovation inside or out of Spark. What is your advice to people who maybe they're undergrads, maybe they're grad students, maybe they're, in the middle of their careers and they're thinking, I want to innovate. I have this idea. I want to develop it. I'm not sure of the pathway forward. I'm not sure I have what it takes. What would your advice be to aspiring innovators who are interested, just in general, in becoming moving forward with a great idea that they feel needs to be brought to fruition?
Well, I would say, in short, do it. Make it a priority. Set some time. Uh, Try to set time every week. Ideally, one day. Have at least one day where you're just working on that project, um, and uh, and also realize it's going to take a while. You can get a prototype up pretty quickly in this field, like in a few days or a week, a very rough, minimal viable product. But to get something that really works is going to take more time. And
Mhm.
also uh, get it in front of people as soon as you can, right? As soon as you've got something that's minimal and working, get it in front of people and get their feedback, see how they're using it, um, and be open to changing it and modifying it. So and also really enjoy your time trying to make the world a better place. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? There's some problem that you see and you think you got a way of addressing that problem that's going to make life better for people. And it can be really satisfying and enjoyable to try to do that. So I strongly encourage this kind of activity.
You make a great point that it's the journey that you have to enjoy. You see startup founders who are are very eager to get to product market fit, start making a lot of money or impacting a lot of people, but that can take a while, right? We learn and from Steve Blank, who is the father of the customer discovery method that we teach here at Brandeis Innovation, that a B2B innovation can take up to 5 years before it becomes a viable company, going through multiple iterations before it hits the right note with consumers. So you have to enjoy solving the problem. That is such an incredible, um, that's a really great insight to share. Any other reflections or thoughts on being a Brandeis innovator, innovating here at Brandeis?
Um, well, yes, I could say that I feel really lucky to be at Brandeis for many reasons. I've got wonderful colleagues and amazing students. Um,
Hmm.
and also Brandeis has historically given faculty um, the opportunity to innovate in teaching. So I've been able to use many, many different, very innovative teaching practices over the years. And Brandeis supports that. The Center for Teaching and Learning has been very supportive of all that. And we've got a group of faculty called the Justice League, whose goal is to enhance teaching, especially for large intro classes. Um, and it's a great place to be an instructor. And for students, I've seen many students come up with amazing ideas. And the Brandeis students are really creative and they want to make a difference in the world. So um, uh, and they do. Often they go out and do amazing things. Like the co-founder of Siri was one of our graduates, and also the co-founder of Anthropic with Claude. It was a recent Brandeis graduate. So you can do it. If you're any Brandeis students who are listening, you can go and make a huge impact in the world. It's just going to take a while, and enjoy the process while you're doing it.
Absolutely. Enjoy the process. Innovation is a lifelong skill and a lifelong joy. Once you start innovating, you'll start multiple companies or multiple initiatives if you're working inside an organization. It's not a one and done. I've never seen, it's an addictive thing. I've never seen anyone innovate once and be like, that was great. Now I'm going to go off to a desert island. They think they will. They think that once they exit, they'll go enjoy their riches and rest for the rest of the year. But once, innovations are like tattoos. You get that first one, and then you just always keep going,
Mhm.
because it's a rewarding process.
Yep, absolutely. Being creative in general is something I would like more people to do. Uh, and in our educational process, I think I've always tried to stress creativity in my classes, have students create a project, take what they've learned and do something interesting with it. Um, and it's a good process, good practice to get into. Do something creative like at least once a week. Um,
I like that. I like that. Do something creative at least once a week. It it will build.
Hmm.
Any other thoughts, Professor Hickey?
Um, no, I just want to thank you and thank the Spark organization for helping all of this innovation happen at Brandeis. And also thank you for letting me be on this podcast. I've enjoyed speaking with you.
Well, thank you for being on the podcast. This has been just a great conversation, really inspiring. And listen to Dr. Hickey, listeners. It just do some one creative thing every day, and you will find that you have made a huge impact by the end of the year. Dr. Tim Hickey, Brandeis Professor of Computer Science, and truly a great innovator and a great Brandesian, working both to make the world a better place and forward technological progress. Thank you so much, Professor Hickey.
Thank you.